We all know that our lifestyle choices have an effect on our risk of developing a so-called cardiometabolic disease, such as diabetes, a heart attack, or a stroke. Eating fatty things and not doing any or only little exercise is bad for us. And yet we keep eating those chocolates. It's chocolate. But it's a choice we make knowingly. But what if I tell you that you have an increased risk of developing such a disease, although you're eating healthily, you're doing enough sports, and that's just because your mother, before she was pregnant and while she was pregnant with you, couldn't resist those temptations such as burgers, crisps, and chocolates? And that's the research question I'm asking. What is the effect of a mother's diet on the baby? Now, there's loads of studies out there looking at this question from different angles. And we all use mice to do so, usually. As you can see in the picture, we have 2 mother mice that are fed different diets before and during pregnancy, and then we look at their babies once they have reached teenage life. So, for example, there's one study that looked at the liver of those mice, and they found that a mouse who's eating normally, but whose mother has eaten very fatty things, is more likely to develop liver damage than a mouse whose mother has eaten normally too. So there is an influence there. Now, while the liver is a very important organ, even more important are the blood vessels. Their correct functioning is vital for our survival. For example, if your coronary artery gets blocked, you have a heart attack. Blood vessels in your brain get blocked, you have a stroke. And studies have found that before changes occur in these bigger blood vessels, changes actually occur in the tiniest of blood vessels, the so-called capillaries, which are only 1/10 of a human hair in diameter. So these are the blood vessels I'm interested in. And I want to see if I can see differences in the capillary networks between those different teenage mice, because then I could link that to their mother's diet and to the risk of developing such a cardiometabolic disease. But how does one look at the blood vessels in the middle of the body? You may be familiar with a so-called CT or CAT scanner from the hospital, the one that gives you a 3-dimensional image of the body. And now very bright people have been able to develop a version of it with which you can scan at very high resolution, so you're able to see those tiny things as capillaries. But the problem remains that there's no contrast between blood vessels and surrounding stuff because it's all basically water. So this is where I come in. My task was to find the best thing to make those blood vessels visible. And while normally you would inject something into the mouse, I found that I can actually make use of the red blood cells, which are naturally within the blood vessels, to visualize the blood vessels. And this is exciting because it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's easier. So, well, I like it. And now I can, with this knowledge, I can go on to study the different networks of the different teenage mice. And then hopefully, tell you about that next time. Thank you very much for your attention.